Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the midweek devotion here at Trinity, Sarasota. We are doing something a little different today, and so you may be curious about the camera angle. We are going to be talking about making your own Advent wreath, and so I've set up the camera to focus in on the creative part of what we're going to be doing this morning. This year, probably more than ever, it feels really important to create a sanctuary in my home, to really nurture and think about the environment, especially knowing that the Advent and Christmas season this year is going to be so very different than any that many of us have experienced. So, one of the things that we can do is to make an Advent wreath for our house. I'm going to walk us through some ideas this morning. These are only ideas. Please do not feel in any way obligated to copy. They're just to inspire you. Advent wreaths help us mark the time as we prepare to celebrate the birth of Christ at Christmas. It gives us, it's a symbol, it's a spiritual practice. It gives us some things to hang on to in the midst of so much change. So let's start off with a little history. And this history is brought to us by our good friends at Wikipedia. And they say, research by Professor Homig of Lutheran Seminary, St. Paul, points to Johann Heinrich Weikern. My German is not great, so I hope I'm saying that right. A Protestant pastor in Germany and a pioneer in urban mission work among the poor, as the inventor of the modern Advent wreath in the 19th century. During Advent, children at the mission school, Ruhas House, founded by Weikern in Hamburg, would ask daily if Christmas had arrived. In 1839, he built a large wooden ring made out of an old cartwheel, and with 20 small red and 4 large white candles. A small candle was lit successively every weekday and Saturday during Advent, and on Sundays a large white candle was lit. The custom gained ground among Protestant churches in Germany and evolved into the smaller wreath with 4 or 5 candles known today. Roman Catholics in Germany began to adopt the custom in the 1920s, and in the 1930s it spread to North America. So, Advent wreaths are a relatively new practice. You're thinking, goodness, it's kind of hundreds of years, almost 100 years old in America. Yeah, but when we think about Christianity, that's still relatively new, and so that gives us grace and permission and creativity to use the practice and adopt the practice as best helps us to connect with God. That's the important thing. We can get all hung up on the who, what, when, where, how, and why. But the important thing is for the practice to help us connect to God. So we're going to have great flexibility in this, in what we're going to be trying out today. And I hope if you're a person that needs permission for flexibility, here is your permission. So let's talk about, we're going to talk about colors, candles, number of candles, shape, and optional items. Colors. So, a lot of times when we think about a modern Advent wreath, we think about, You know, maybe blue or purple. These are kind of traditional Advent colors, and so if you want to use blue or purple, that would be fantastic. We often also think about white for the Christ candle. You know, the first Advent wreath used red and white. So if you want to use red and white, that would be great. The important thing is what color helps you make a connection. Why have you chosen that color? A lot of the choices you're going to make will have meaning behind them, and so think about the meaning behind what you are choosing today. Let's talk about candles. So you just saw me place, you know, a couple of these are pillar candles. They work beautifully. Or you could use a tapered candle. You know, a lot of times we think about tapers. You could use a votive. You could use a tea light, right? Any of those will work. Here's the tapered candle. I'll put it back here. Okay, so doesn't matter what kind of candle you use. Just make sure you use the proper holders for it. We don't want to, we want everything to be safe, and you can choose a holder that's fun as well. The tapered candles are kind of nice because they show the passage of time a little easier than the other style of candles. But again, any of those candles will work. Number of candles. The original Advent wreath had over 20 candles in it. It was sort of like an Advent calendar that we're marking, one per day. And, a lot of times the modern candles have 4 or 5 Advent, candles in the wreath. So again, this is about flexibility. This is about why have you chosen the color you chose? Why have you chosen the type of candle you chose? Why have you chosen the shape? Let's talk about shape. Advent wreaths, we often think of a round shape, but I've seen spirals and crosses and all different kinds of shapes. So let's put some together, right? That's the fun part of the demonstration. So if you want to be really, really traditional, you can buy a set of Advent candles on Amazon. They're not very expensive. They come pretty quickly. And so let's set up a pretty traditional wreath. So we'll do, sorry you can't see the whole thing, but you'll get the idea. The tapers are a little hard to see. And then you put a Christ candle in the middle. Let me see if I can bend it up. There we go. So something like that. Super simple. Super simple. This is very, very traditional. It's kind of a round shape. You have the purple candles. What might purple stand for in your Advent wreath? Sometimes there's a pink candle. What would the pink candle stand for? Some folks say this is the joy. There's usually a white or a cream candle in the middle. What would that stand for you? Okay. Most of the time, folks call it the Christ candle. So there's a pretty traditional setup. Let's do another fairly traditional setup. Using little candles. I found these little holders this way. There we go. I found these little holders. It was probably like the dollar store, I've had them for a couple of years. So let's do this one in the shape of a cross. Okay. And a white candle in the middle. Okay, there we go. Pretty traditional. I kind of like these. They're a little more modern. I got this at the dollar store. This does not have to be expensive. It can be pretty simple. Okay, so there's another idea. Cross shape, purple color. So, I'm going to shape it like a cross because of, Jesus' crucifixion. I'm going to shape it. I'm going to use purple to symbolize royalty. I'm going to have a white candle to symbolize resurrection. I mean, you can start putting all sorts of ideas onto it. Let's try these blue pillar candles. I love these. These are just so pretty. Blue pillar candles with a white candle in the middle. There we go. Blue pillar candles with a white candle in the middle. And, so what would it be like to maybe use some figures from your nativity set to help decorate your Advent wreath? That could be fun. And put the baby there. That could be a lot of fun. That's really pretty. Kind of like that. You get fancy and add some greenery. These are kind of pretty. Add some greenery to it. That could be fun. Tone it down a little bit. There you go. That could be fun. You could use live greenery. You can use not live greenery. I think I've found those at Joann's this year. Let's move these off to the side. One of my, the Advent wreath that I did last year used these 4 little candle holders, and instead of a Christ candle, I used, let's put it up just a little. I have this statue, little carving of a pregnant woman. So during Advent, I used that. I got this on one of my trips to Israel. She's carved out of olive wood. It's one of my favorite things. And then on Christmas Eve, it was exchanged out for Mary and the baby. So that's another thing. You can use your symbols from your nativity. Here's another one. A different set of let's see, what would that be like? You just play around with it, right? You just play around with it. This is our nativity set that we again brought back from Israel, and what I love about it is the manger and the baby are not together. So you can have an empty manger during Advent. And then on Christmas Eve, you can add the baby. So again, what helps you make a connection? What symbols are important to you? What colors are important to you? What do you have around the house? What can you use without needing to go out anywhere? Oh, I do want to show you this one. This is a really special, this is a special wreath. So this one, this is a spiral wreath that a dear friend made for me. And so you use a tea light, and the tea light travels. So there's movement to the wreath. You could, you know, just make a spiral out of ribbon or a spiral out of evergreen. You could draw it on a piece of paper and have the light travel to the center. So that's a fun thing. You could add more light as you go around. That's a lot of tea lights. I have tried that, and it gets hard to kind of light over another light. What would it mean symbolically if the light worked outwards instead of inwards? That's an interesting idea. You could start in and work out. You know, the light coming into the world. That would be a different idea, a different symbol, a different idea. So, wanted to show you one last thing is you can also get these inexpensive Dollar Tree containers and put tissue paper on the outside. This is mulberry paper, which is really fun to work with. So again, there's so many possibilities, so many possibilities. So my dear ones, what are you going to do this year to help make your home a sanctuary? What are you going to do to help connect you, remind you of the presence of God? We are encouraging every household to create an Advent wreath. And we would love for you, I'd love for you to send me a picture. Send me a picture of your Advent wreath, and we'll post them. I would love to have your household in that picture. Wouldn't that be wonderful? To have your household in that picture. And we're just going to encourage one another. We're gonna celebrate with one another and delight in the creativity of each other. So thanks for stopping by this very special edition of our morning devotions. There will be an Advent little booklet coming with Advent wreath readings. I forgot to show you how you do that. So you have your Advent wreath. Okay. So here's an Advent wreath. There we go. I'm going to put this little pretty in here like that. And so there's you light a candle. You can do one candle on the first week of Advent, 2 on the second, 3 on the third, 4 on the fourth, and you can do the readings just on Sundays. You could do them every day. And more and more candles, more and more light as Jesus, as we are getting closer and closer to celebrating God with us in Jesus at Christmas. So you will be receiving an Advent booklet in the mail, and I hope the readings are encouraging to you. I hope the prayers are encouraging to you. Be sure that you're on our mailing list, because if we don't have your address, we can't send you a booklet, and we want you to have one. So you can contact the church office, and we would be glad to include you and your household in that special gift, that special free gift that is coming. Again, dear ones, I am so thankful for you, and I pray blessing and protection and provision and goodness over you and your household. I pray that the light of Christ shines through you in beautiful and wonderful ways. I pray that this is a meaningful Advent season, and that come Christmas you find yourself even closer in devotion and trust of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Advent starts on November 29th this year, the last Sunday in November, and so you've got time. You've got time to put your wreath together. Thank you, dear ones, and I look forward to seeing you soon.